Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to start installing the soundproofing materials on the ceiling. Alright, so I gave you the first clue as to which materials I'm going to use, and that first product I'm going to talk about is Roxul Safe and Sound. Now, Roxul Safe and Sound is a stone wool product. It looks a lot like insulation, but it's a lot denser material, as you can see here. And I decided to use that instead of using regular insulation. The Roxul Safe and Sound will hold itself in place a lot better than the regular old insulation because my joist cavities are irregularly spaced. I don't want to deal with trying to fight with the insulation. So I decided to go ahead and use Roxul, and I may go with 2 layers. I haven't decided on that yet. The only problem with going with 2 layers is the expense. I think it was about $1.60 per square foot if I want to go with 2 layers of Roxul versus the regular old fiberglass insulation. I think it was around about 50 cents a square foot. So just some statistics as it were on the Roxul. You'll see that one bag comes with 12 bats. Each bat is 3 inches thick, and then they're 15¼ inches wide. So they're about 3/4 of an inch wider than a standard 16-inch on center stud spacing. Then each bat is 47 inches long, and one bag supposedly covers 59.7 square feet. So we'll see how this goes here. So this is the second major component of the soundproofing in the ceiling, and that's hat channel. So I picked this up today at my local supply house, and I've decided to go with that over resilient channel because after talking to John at soundproofingcompany.com, I just felt more comfortable using the hat channel in this ceiling versus using the resilient channel. There just seems to be a lot of opportunities for failure with the resilient channel. So I have some clips on order. Those should be here pretty soon. And I'm not going to go too much into detail on this product just yet until we start installing it. But I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a preview here. Okay, so I'm in the bathroom now. I want to discuss a few obstacles I have to deal with here because I've chosen to soundproof the ceiling. So the first one is going to be that can light right there. And why I mentioned that is because the ceiling is going to come down about a ½ inch lower than it would have been installed if I just used the joist there instead of putting any sort of resilient channel or hat channel on the other side of those joists. So what that means is that can light has to come down about a ½ inch also. Now the problem with bringing the can light down a ½ inch is that those bars are probably going to run into the hat channel because I want to actually install the hat channel parallel to the joist as opposed to installing it perpendicular to the joist so I can recess them inside the ceiling there. So I'm going to show you that later on, but I just wanted to mention it now. So what that means, I'm probably going to have to replace that can light there with one of these remodeling can lights. And that will be installed after I put the drywall up. Now if you decide to go with resilient channel and install it perpendicular to the joist, you're going to want to look at possibly getting a can light where you can drop that ring down about a ½ inch so that it meets the drywall where it should. And you also want to think about whether you're going to install multiple layers of drywall, and then if that's the case, you're probably going to have to go with a remodeling can light instead. We'll cover the bath fan when we get to that. That's not going to be too big a deal in this case here. And our third major obstacle, and probably the most challenging of all three, is those cables on the underside of the joist. So that's going to mainly affect how we install the hat channel, so I'll talk about that when we get to that point. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this first cavity here. It's like about 11 5/8, and we'll go ahead and move to the other end and take the same measurement. Alright, on this end we are at about 11 1/2. So what we're going to do is add 3/4 of an inch to the 11 1/2 inch measurement and cut our bats at 12 1/4 inches. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the Roxul, and all I have to do really is just measure in 3 inches since we're going from 15 1/4 inches to 12 1/4 inches. So I'll do that on each end here. I'm using one of these knives here, the insulation knife that I used in the installation video that I did for the exterior wall. You want to use one of these knives that has a serrated edge, or use something like a bread knife, or one of the electric knives also works pretty well. And I've got my level here, which is 48 inches long, so that should work pretty well, I hope. It actually cuts pretty easy. I just have to use more of a sawing motion as opposed to trying to cut it straight. Okay, so I'm going to do the first cavity here. So that's definitely a lot easier than messing around with fiberglass insulation. So on this side of the ceiling we've got a cable to deal with here. We've got that one right there, and then it comes around the back here. So I've cut a little bit of a notch right here to kind of relieve that side over there, and then took out a little portion on the back here also. So you kind of have to play with that as you come across obstacles like that in your ceiling. So this side is all done, at least that first layer. And you can see I've butted the Roxul up against itself, so we don't have any voids anywhere there. Alright, so the second row is all done, and I took the can light down so I could put the Roxul in up there. One thing to point out on this end is I'm going to have to take out some of the Roxul where the can light's going to go, because I need to leave about 3 inches of space around the can light by code, since it's not an insulation contact rated can light that I'm going to be putting in there. Had a little bit of a jog to deal with on this end because of the joist that crosses over this wall here. So I notched around that. That looks okay. Alright, so I'm working on the third cavity now, and one of the things that I remembered is that the hat channel is going to bring the ceiling down about a ½ inch. So what I've done there is space the bath fan a ½ inch off the ceiling using some plywood. That's a ½ inch plywood there. The other thing I need to be conscious of is where the seam is going to fall for the drywall. And it looks like the seam's going to be probably about an inch in, an inch and a half in. So we'll see how that works out when I get to that point, but I think the positioning is okay right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and get that third cavity done. Okay, so I've put Roxul in the third cavity here. So there's some right there. And I've also, I'll show you real quick here, got some Roxul above the bath fan. And there's about a 2-inch gap there, so it is compressed a little bit, but it should work out okay. I wanted to get something up there at least to kind of muffle the noise of the bath fan. So to finish out this third cavity, what I'm going to do is raise this duct up. One of the reasons why I want to do that is because the way it's sagging right now, of course, there's going to be drywall to help hold it up. But if I leave a sag in there, there's a potential for water being trapped in there, and that could be a problem later on. So I'm going to go ahead and get that supported, and I'll show how I'm going to do that next. So I'm going to be using this duct support webbing to support the duct, and as you can see, it's made out of nylon. Now, but the question is, what kinds of fasteners am I going to use up there? I can use staples or nails or screws. Staples and nails are going to be the best options. You can also use, like I said, screws. The screws could cause some problems because it could cause the webbing to tear. So you want to really think about that. So I remembered that I had these cap nails in the garage from a project I did this past summer. I decided to go ahead and use those. You don't have to use something like this, but I figured I might as well use them since I have them. And I doubled up the nylon there to provide a little more strength. And I'm probably going to install these with a palm nailer because that's the only thing that's really going to fit pretty well in that cavity. Alright, so I've got 3 pieces of webbing installed there. I've got one about a foot from the outside wall, one in the center, and then one about a foot from the bath fan. So we're in good shape there. And I'm going to go ahead now and continue on putting in the Roxul. Alright, so I was able to get some Roxul up around the duct for the bath fan. So that's pretty much all done back there. So we're going to move on to the last row here and see how it turns out. Alright, so on this last cavity, the good thing is it's 16 inches on center, so I don't have to worry about cutting the bats down to size width-wise. But I've got a lot of pipes running through here, and what I've done is a lot of the nails that are protruding through the upper floor are all nailed over, so I've nailed them kind of sideways. You might not be able to see any of them there. There's one right there, it looks like. Just to get those out of my way so the Roxul doesn't get snagged on those. And we'll just go ahead and continue down this wall. So I have to be very strategic in how I cut the bats here of Roxul because of all those pipes that are up there. Alright, so I figured I'd take you up on top of the wall to see what I'm dealing with here. You can see right there I've got a copper pipe right there, and then I've got this other drain pipe here. So I'm trying to cut out a piece of Roxul that'll fit around each one of those as opposed to putting in a bunch of small pieces. Alright, so there's the cutout there for the pipe. That's for the drain pipe. This is for the copper pipe. I just made a slit here, and then I took the knife and just kind of did a little circle right there. Alright, so this last cavity is all done. That took a lot of work. There's a lot of cutouts I had to make in the Roxul to get it up in there. This one area over here doesn't look so pretty, right where the toilet drain is there. But I think it'll be okay. I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, so I took the nailer down off this wall here and put some blocks up, and I'll talk about why those blocks are there in the next video. But since I took the nailer down, I actually put some Roxul up in there also. You can kind of barely see it there. And that spans from this joist here to the next joist over. Alright, so the decibel level last time was around 46 or 47. And it looks like we're bouncing around between 40 and 42 now. Alright, so I'm going to repeat our impact noise test, dropping the basketball from about 6 feet up in the air. I'm going to do that twice between the joists and then twice over the joist, just like we did last time. We may not notice much of an improvement on the impact noise though. 75, 75, 72, 64. Alright, so that concludes our test, and we'll continue on with installing the soundproofing materials in the ceiling. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for future videos. Visit our website at DIYapprentice.com.